Evan Hart had worked on strange machines before, but nothing compared to the Valorian armor sitting on his repair table. The tall silver plates looked more like living metal than anything made by hands. Light ran through the seams like glowing veins, pulsing with a quiet rhythm. He wiped sweat from his forehead and tried not to stare at the reflection of the warrior standing nearby. She did not move, even a little. She never did. Sari Arathun, Valorian soldier and scout of Outpost 7, watched him with the stillness of a statue. She stood 6.5 feet tall, her armor shaped like a second skin, sharp and elegant, built for both beauty and war. Her helmet covered her whole face, but Evan could feel her gaze through it. Every time she looked at him, he felt as if someone measured his soul. He was just a human mechanic, nothing special, nothing important. But today he had been assigned to inspect and repair Ciri's outer armor after her patrol fight with a sand beast on Xeron 4. The desert moon was famous for two things: endless storms and things trying to kill you. Humans and Valorian worked here only because both sides needed the mineral fields beneath the dunes. A fragile piece, full of tension, but functional. Evan carefully scanned a cracked section on her shoulder plate. "You took a pretty bad hit here," he said, trying to sound relaxed. Sari did not move. "It is acceptable. You say that every time." Silence. He sighed. Talking to her always felt like talking to a silent wall. But she was not rude. She was simply Valorian private, disciplined, and shaped by strict traditions. The scanner beeped low warning tones. "This part is stressed. You should rest for a few hours after I fix it." "Warriors do not require rest," she answered. "Well, humans do," Evan muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. "Especially after dealing with people who act like they're made of stone." To his shock, Sari answered, "I do not act like stone. Stone breaks." Evan blinked. Did she just joke, or something close to a joke? He opened his mouth to say something, but she spoke again. "Human Evan Hart," she said, voice calm but firm. "State your desired compensation." He froze. "My what?" "For repairing my armor," she explained. "In Valorian custom, when a service is performed, the one who receives must ask the one who gives what they desire. It is proper ritual. So, state what you want." Evan was tired. He had barely slept. He had repaired 5 drones already. And this whole talk about proper ritual made his brain feel heavy. So he said the first dumb thing that came to his mind. "I want you." He said it with a laugh. A stupid, small laugh. A joke. A harmless joke. But Sari did not laugh. She did not breathe. She did not speak. She stood completely still, as if the world around her had frozen. Evan's smile slowly faded. Sari? I was just kidding. It's a joke. Humans make jokes. You know? You don't have to." She lifted her hand. His words died in his throat. With slow, deliberate movements, she tapped the release seals on her helmet. A soft hiss escaped as the armor opened. Evan's eyes widened as she lifted the helmet away, revealing her face for the first time. She was beautiful. Not in a human way, but in a startling, alien way. Her skin carried soft silver lines, like natural tattoos, glowing lightly with every breath. Her eyes were a deep blue, bright and sharp. Her hair was short and white, almost shining under the repair room lights. Valorian warriors never removed their helmets in front of outsiders. Never. Evan stepped back, shocked. "Sari, what are you doing?" She held his gaze without blinking. "You spoke a binding desire." "It was a joke." "Then your joke was reckless." Her voice was quiet now, softer than he had ever heard. "But I accept it." Evan felt his heart jump into his throat. "Accept?" No, Sari. I didn't mean it. Humans joke about things all the time." "In my culture," she said, "to speak desire in that way is to begin a courtship bond." She paused. "Removing my armor is a symbol of trust and acceptance." Evan's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Nothing came out. His brain was no longer working. She misunderstood everything. And it was his fault. His very stupid fault. He tried to calm his breathing. Sari, listen. I don't want to disrespect your culture. I didn't mean anything serious. I really didn't. Not that you're, not great. You're great. You're a warrior and strong and intimidating in a cool way. But I was joking. Sari watched him with unreadable eyes. Your intent is noted, but the bond has been acknowledged. It cannot be undone easily. He gulped. How easily? It requires a formal rejection in front of the Valorian Council. Evan's stomach twisted. He imagined standing before giant armored aliens, saying, "Sorry," I joked. Terrifying. He rubbed his face with both hands. Why is today like this? Before Sari could answer, the outpost alarms screamed through the halls. Red lights flashed. A robotic voice shouted across the speakers. Unidentified hostile approach detected. All units to battle stations. Evan's head shot up. What now? Sari snapped her helmet back into place and stepped in front of him, protecting him with her body. Hostiles? She said, her voice turning sharp and controlled. You will stay behind me. Why are you protecting me? Evan asked, confused. Because the bond requires it. I told you it was a joke. She ignored him and activated her armor blades. They glowed with a ghostly blue light. Evan stared as he heard heavy thuds outside. Massive footsteps, shaking the metal floors. The walls vibrated with every impact. The control panel flashed warnings. Ravagers, a violent nomad species known for hunting Valorian warriors. Evan felt tiny, weak, useless. Sari felt like a wall of living steel in front of him. The door to the repair room shook under a powerful force. Metal bent inward. Dust fell from the ceiling. Evan's heart hammered so hard it hurt. The door rattled again. Harder. The hinges screamed. Sari drew her long blade and whispered something in Valorian language, prayer or promise. Evan could not tell. The door exploded inward. A Ravager soldier entered with a roar, huge and covered in heavy armor. But before Evan could even react, Sari was already moving. She hit the monster with an energy-charged strike, sending sparks and fragments flying. The Ravager staggered, then lunged. She met it with movements so fast the human eye almost couldn't follow. Evan stumbled backward as the fight raged. Sari was a blur of blue light and sharp angles, each strike measured and deadly. Two more Ravagers forced their way inside. Sari kicked one into the wall and slashed at the other with a powerful sweep. Evan's heart pounded as fear, and something like awe mixed inside him. She was fighting like his life depended on it. Maybe it did. When the Ravagers pulled back, regrouping, Sari grabbed Evan's wrist. We must move. Where? Why me? You are vulnerable, she said. The bond places your safety above all. He wanted to argue again. He wanted to shout that it was all a misunderstanding. But another explosion echoed through the hall, shaking the ground beneath them. The Ravagers were breaking deeper into the outpost. There was no time for debate. Sari led him into a maintenance tunnel behind the repair room, sealing the door behind them. The dim lights flickered overhead as dust drifted in the air. Evan panted. Sari, you don't have to do this. I can take care of myself. No. You cannot. Harsh, but true. He sighed. This bond thing. It doesn't force you into danger, right? It obligates me to protect, she said. Your joke placed your life under my responsibility. He winced. I didn't mean. You spoke the words, she replied. And you spoke them to me. Her voice was calm, but something soft hid underneath. They reached a silent section of the tunnel. Sari placed her back against the metal wall. Evan noticed faint cracks along her armor, ones he hadn't repaired yet. She was hurt. She had fought injured. Sari, he whispered. You're bleeding. It is minimal. It is not minimal. Before she could argue, another explosion thundered above them. Dust rained down. The lights flickered harder. Sari looked toward the sound, then back at him. Evan Hart. Yeah? You claimed me in words. I accepted. So I will stand between you and whatever comes next." He stared at her, unable to speak for a moment. She continued, "But after we survive, you may reject the bond formally if that is your desire." Evan swallowed. He wanted to deny everything. Say it was all a mistake. But looking at her injured armor, remembering how she fought like a shield around him, something inside him twisted. We'll talk about it later," he whispered. Sari nodded once. The echoes of Ravagers grew louder in the tunnels. Sari reached for her weapon again. Evan stood behind her, heart pounding, as the shadows approached. And part 1 ends with both of them preparing for the fight neither asked for but one they would face. The tunnel air felt heavy as Evan followed close behind Sari. Every step echoed like a warning. The Ravagers were moving somewhere above them, metal boots thundering on the outpost floors. The narrow passage vibrated with each explosion, and dust drifted down like falling ash. Evan swallowed hard and tried to calm his shaking hands. Sari, meanwhile, walked with steady steps, blade held low, body tense but controlled. She was injured, her armor cracked in glowing patterns, yet she moved like a force no one could bend. "Stay close to me," she said quietly. Evan almost laughed. "Where else would I go? You're blocking the entire tunnel." "That is intentional." He sighed under his breath, but he didn't complain again. The truth was simple without her. He'd already be dead. She had fought like a storm in the repair room. She had stood between him and 3 Ravagers without hesitation, and now she walked in front of him, her posture rigid, as if she expected danger any second. They reached a junction where the tunnel split in 2. Sari stopped. Her helmet turned left, then right. "Listening," Evan whispered. "Which way?" Quote, "Both paths lead to the lower outpost systems," she said. "But the Ravagers have placed charges above. They may collapse parts of the structure. That's bad, right?" "Yes. Can you say anything comforting?" "No." He sighed again. "Figures." She faced him, her helmet's blue visor glowing faintly. "Evan, were you truly unaware of the meaning of your words?" He ran a hand through his hair. "This again. The bond. The joke. The disaster. I swear I didn't know," he said. "Humans joke about wanting things. We say stuff like that just to tease or lighten the mood. Then your people use dangerous humor." "Not dangerous for us," he muttered. "For a Valorian, your statement was not mild. It was intimate, serious." He winced. "Yeah, I'm learning that now. Look, I didn't mean to force you into anything." "You did not force me," she said. "You offered." "I accepted." Evan blinked. "Accepted? You wanted?" The ground shook violently. Sari lunged forward, grabbing his arm and pulling him against the wall just as a wave of dust and debris crashed through the junction. Lights went out. Only the glow from her armor lit the darkness. "Move," she commanded, pulling him down the right path. Evan stumbled but kept his feet under him. The sound of Ravagers echoed behind them, growls. Heavy boots, mechanical hums. They were closing in. Sari's steps grew faster, but Evan noticed her breathing wasn't steady anymore. He could hear it through the faint cracks in her armor. She was hurt worse than she admitted. At last they reached a small maintenance chamber. It was one of Evan's usual repair spots. He recognized the power cells stacked against the walls. Sari motioned for him to stay inside while she secured the door. She locked it with a heavy metal bar and turned to scan the room. Evan approached her slowly. "Sit. I cannot. We must be ready to move. You're bleeding. And your armor is half broken. Just sit for 2 minutes." She hesitated. That alone shocked him. Valorian warriors never hesitated. But finally, she sat on a supply crate. Evan knelt in front of her, lifting his flashlight. "Can you open the damaged plates?" "Oh." She pressed a sequence on her wristpiece, and the armor hissed softly, loosening around her shoulder and side. Beneath it, the glowing fractures in her skin pulsed weakly. Evan sucked in a breath. "That looks painful." "It is manageable." "It looks like it hurts a lot." "It is manageable," she repeated, firmer. He shook his head. You know, if you want humans to understand you, you should try saying yes. It hurts, because that clearly hurts. Sari looked at him without speaking. Evan realized she wasn't avoiding admitting pain, she didn't understand the idea of showing weakness. Valorian warriors were trained to endure and stay silent. I'll fix what I can, he said softly. She didn't stop him. Evan took his repair tools from the wall unit. As he worked, he could feel her eyes watching him. When he brushed a cracked section near her ribs, she stiffened. Sorry, he whispered. It is nothing. Feels like more than nothing. Her voice softened in a way he had never heard. I have not been this close to a human before. He paused his work. Is that a problem? No, it is unfamiliar. She looked away slightly. Our kind does not remove armor before others. It is only for those we trust. Evan felt something tighten in his chest. I didn't ask you to remove your armor. You spoke desire, she said quietly. I answered honestly. He swallowed hard. You thought I was serious. You really thought I wanted you? She looked into his eyes. This time, her expression was not strong or cold. It was open, vulnerable in a way he never imagined she could be. Yes, she said simply. And I did not reject the idea. Evan's breath caught. Before he could answer, a loud crash hit the door. Sari jumped to her feet. Evan dropped his tools. The Ravagers had found them. Sari pushed Evan behind her again. Seal the back entrance, she ordered. I can't seal it from here, it only locks from the outside. Then activate the power cell overload. He froze. That could blow half the tunnel. It will disable them. Do it. Evan ran to the power grid and began typing commands. The Ravagers hit the door again, bending the metal bar. Sari raised her blade. Her armor flickered, struggling to hold power through the damaged circuits. Evan shouted, almost ready. The door burst open. 2 Ravagers stepped inside, roaring. Sari leapt forward and met them. Striking the first so hard sparks exploded off its armor. She dodged a heavy swing and sliced through a joint plate, forcing the attacker back. But the second Ravager grabbed her from behind and slammed her into the wall. Evan yelled her name without thinking. Sari grabbed the Ravager's arm and twisted until it cracked, then threw the creature across the room. But she staggered afterward, her armor flickering dangerously. Evan, the overload, she shouted. I'm trying. It keeps locking me out. Another Ravager entered. Sari was weakening. She fought with everything she had, but her movements grew slower. Evan slammed his hand on the control panel. Come on, yes. He hit the final command. The power cells flashed bright white. Evan dove to the floor. Sari shielded him with her body. A shockwave burst through the room, a burst of blinding light and force. The Ravagers were thrown back. The tunnel behind them collapsed, burying them under tons of broken metal. Dust filled the air like smoke. Evan coughed and pushed himself up. Sari. Are you? She knelt beside him, breathing hard. Her armor was almost dark now, its glowing veins dimming. Her strength was fading. You saved me, she whispered. You saved me first. She stared at him. Her helmet cracked open from the blast. For the first time, he could see her full expression. A strange mix of shock, confusion, and something soft. She touched his arm gently, almost uncertain. Why did you risk your life? Why? He repeated. Because you were fighting for me. Because you protected me. Because. He hesitated, then said the truth he didn't expect. Because I don't want anything bad to happen to you. Sari's breath caught. She lowered her hand slowly. You care for me. I guess I do, he said quietly. Even if this bond thing started as a mistake. Even if I didn't understand. I care now. Something fragile and warm flickered in her expression. Evan. Before she could say more, distant metal thuds echoed again. The Ravagers were not all buried. More were coming. Sari forced herself to her feet, even though she was barely standing. We must reach the command center. If we send a distress signal, Reinforcements may arrive. Evan nodded and helped her stand. Then we go together. She looked at his hand, holding her arm, his human hand against her alien armor. Something about that seemed to weaken her and strengthen her at the same time. Together, limping and exhausted, they moved out of the ruined chamber and deeper into the tunnels. Behind them, the Ravagers roared as they dug themselves free. Ahead of them, the fate of the bond and their lives waited in the shadows. Sari moved slowly through the dark tunnel, her armor flickering like a dying flame. Evan stayed close, supporting her whenever she stumbled. The tunnel felt endless, stretching deeper under the outpost while the echoes of Ravagers climbed closer with every passing second. The air smelled like dust, heat, and fear. Yet in the middle of all that, Evan kept glancing towards Sari, hoping she could make it just a little longer. "We're close," he whispered. "The command center access ladder is right ahead." Sari nodded, but her legs trembled. Her armor lights dimmed to a near-faint glow. Evan could tell she was pushing herself past every limit she had. "You don't have to keep pretending you're fine," he said softly. She looked at him through the cracked visor, eyes tired but determined. A Valorian warrior does not fall, while protecting the one they accepted. "Yeah, well," he said, tightening his grip on her arm. "Maybe for once, let the one you accepted help you back." Her steps slowed. He felt her weight lean slightly into him, something she would never do under normal circumstances. It told him how much she was hurting. They reached the ladder, a vertical shaft leading up to the command center 2 levels above. Evan scanned quickly. The tunnel behind them shook from distant impacts. The Ravagers were trying to break through collapsed sections. Sari looked at the ladder, then at him. "You must climb first." "No, you're injured. You go first. I'll catch you if you—" "That is incorrect," she said. "You climb. I will guard the entrance." "What?" "You can barely stand." She placed one hand against the wall to steady herself. Even through her damaged armor, she seemed impossibly strong. "You must send the distress call. Humans control the system. My access will be limited." Evan stared at her, frustration burning inside him. "Sari, you protected me enough. Come with me. Please." Her visor flickered again, revealing her eyes soft, glowing, full of something more than duty. "Evan Hart, if I cannot hold them back, you must survive. That is my choice." He shook his head fiercely and grabbed her hand. "Then it's my choice to keep you alive too." Sari froze at his touch. Valorian did not take hands lightly. To them, physical contact was rare, reserved, important. She stared at their joined hands, as if she didn't know how to breathe. Evan's voice softened. "Come with me. Don't make me climb without you." For a moment, she didn't move. Then she took a slow step toward the ladder. "Very well. We ascend together." He didn't let go of her hand until the first few rungs. The climb was slow, painful. Sari struggled to lift herself, each movement strained. Evan climbed just below her, ready to catch her if she slipped. Twice she missed a step. Twice he steadied her with his hand on her back. By the time they reached the top platform, Sari's armor lights were nearly gone. She leaned heavily against the wall. Evan eased her down to sit. "Just breathe for a moment. I do not need." "Yes, you do. So, breathe." She exhaled shakily. He checked her armor. New cracks had formed along the plates. Blood-glowing blue-silver leaked through seams. She was running out of time. The command center door was just ahead. Evan rushed to the access panel. "I can get this open. Just stay with me." Before he finished the sentence, the platform vibrated. A Ravager roar echoed from below. Evan looked over the edge of the shaft. A huge Ravager was climbing up the ladder with terrifying speed. Sari struggled to rise. "Stay behind me." "No, we're doing this together." She pushed herself upright, gripping her blade even though her hand trembled. "Evan, listen. If I fall here, know that I am not afraid. Because you..." The Ravager's massive hand grabbed the upper rung, shaking the platform. Evan hit the panel, and the command center door slid open behind them. "Get inside!" Evan shouted. Sari shook her head. "Go." "No." He didn't get to argue because the Ravager lunged upward, pulling its massive body over the edge, roaring. Sari stepped forward, blade raised, but her strength gave out at the last second. Her swing was too slow. The Ravager knocked her aside, sending her crashing into the wall. "Sari!" Evan yelled. The Ravager turned toward him. Evan had no weapon, no armor, no training, but he had tools. He grabbed the heavy power spanner from his belt and swung with all the force his body had. It hit the Ravager's jaw, barely making the alien flinch. It roared and grabbed Evan by his vest, lifting him off the ground. Evan's mind screamed, but he didn't stop fighting. He jammed the spanner into the Ravager's visor and twisted, cracking the glass. The creature howled and dropped him. Before it could recover, Sari, broken, bleeding, exhausted, threw herself at the Ravager with a desperate cry. Her blade plunged into a joint gap under its arm. The Ravager staggered. In a final burst of strength, Sari twisted the blade deeper. The Ravager swung one last time, hitting Sari across the chest. She flew backward, slamming against the platform floor. The Ravager fell. Evan rushed to Sari, heart pounding. "Sari, no, no, stay with me." Her visor cracked completely, revealing her eyes faint, losing light. "You fought," she whispered. "Of course I did. You think I'd leave you?" "Not happening." Her voice trembled. "A human, protecting a Valorian. This is rare. I don't care about rare. I care about you." Sari's lips parted in a soft breath. Her hand reached for his but fell halfway. Too weak. He caught it immediately, squeezing gently. "That is warm," she whispered. "Stay with me," he begged. "Just stay." He hooked his arm under her shoulders and pulled her inside the command center. The door closed behind them, sealing the shaft. Evan dragged Sari to the central console. His hands shook as he typed the emergency code. A hologram flickered to life. "Outpost 7 distress call. Receiving," the system announced. Evan leaned close. "Reinforcements. Send them now." Meanwhile, Sari tried to sit up. "Evan, leave me. I am injured. My people will not want. They'll want you alive," he said firmly. "So don't say that." She blinked slowly, struggling to keep her eyes open. "You speak as if the bond matters to you." Evan stared at her, realizing something inside him had changed long before this moment. "It does matter. You matter. Not because of the bond. Because of who you are." Sari's breath trembled. "I thought humans would fear me. But you remained." "I stayed because I wanted to," he said softly. Her glowing eyes widened slightly in surprise. "You want me?" He swallowed. "Yes. This time, I'm not joking." For a moment, the world went silent around them. Even the alarms seemed distant. Sari stared at him, as if the entire universe had shifted. Then the walls shook again, another explosion below. Evan jumped. "Reinforcements, better hurry." As if answering his words, the intercom crackled. "Evan Hart, this is Captain Relis. We received your signal. Hold position. We're coming in." Outside, the sounds of battle erupted, Valorian squads cutting through the remaining Ravagers. The outpost shook from weapon bursts and explosions. Moments later, the command center door slid open, and a group of Valorian warriors entered. Their leader stepped forward. "Sari Arathun, you are gravely injured. Why did you not retreat?" Sari struggled to speak. "I protected the human." The warriors exchanged heavy looks. One of them said, "If the bond is true, then your actions follow the old vows." Evan blinked. "Vows? What vows?" The captain looked at Evan sharply. "The words you spoke. I want you. Those are ancient Valorian bonding terms. Once accepted, they are binding unless rejected formally." Evan swallowed and glanced at Sari. Her breathing was faint. Her armor shattered. Yet her eyes held a fragile hope. The captain asked, "Human, do you reject the bond?" Evan looked at Siri, injured, exhausted, but still watching him with fear she tried to hide. Fear that he would let her go. He stepped closer, took her hand, and said clearly, "No, I don't reject it. I meant it this time. I choose her too." The Valorian warriors stood in stunned silence. Siri's eyes softened, glowing faintly. "Evan," he knelt beside her. "I want you. Not as a joke, not as an accident, but because you fought for me. And because I want to fight for you too." She lifted her hand weakly and touched his chest, just over his heart. A Valorian gesture of deep acceptance. Her voice trembled. "Then, let our bond be real." He smiled softly. "It already is." As medical teams rushed in to carry her away, Siri held his hand until the very last second, and Evan held hers back, knowing their lives had changed forever because of one joke, one bond, and one warrior who took off her armor for him. When Siri woke again, the world was soft and distant. The ceiling above her glowed a gentle white instead of the harsh yellow lights of the outpost tunnels. Her body felt light, wrapped in warmth instead of armor. Voices floated around her in muffled echoes, but she couldn't make out the words. Her first instinct was to sit up and reach for her blade, but her strength failed her. She only managed a small movement before a hand touched her gently. "Easy," Evan whispered. "You're safe. You're in the Valorian medical bay." His voice broke through the haze like a familiar signal. Sari blinked, trying to focus. Evan leaned closer, worry written across his face. His shirt was torn, bruises on his arms, dust in his hair. He looked exhausted but alive. Her eyes softened. "Evan, heart." He let out a breath she didn't know he'd been holding. "You're awake. Thank the stars." She tried to lift her arm, slow and heavy. He reached out instinctively and supported it. His touch was warm. She felt something unfamiliar, a wave of calm spreading through her. Perhaps humans had strange warmth that Valorian did not. "What happened?" she asked quietly. "You saved me. I saved you." Then, the whole Valorian guard stormed the place like an angry thunderstorm and carried you straight here. His smile was soft but tired. "You were unconscious for 2 days." Siri blinked slowly. 2 days. That meant she had been helpless for longer than any warrior should allow. She swallowed shame, but Evan gently brushed her hand with his thumb. "Don't think like that," he whispered. "You fought harder than anyone I've ever seen." She looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. "I did my duty." "You did more than duty," Evan said. "You protected me when you could barely stand." Her breath trembled. "Because of the bond." His expression softened even more. "Not just the bond. You protected me because you wanted to." Sari hesitated, then nodded, a small, honest movement. "Yes, I did." Before she could say more, the door slid open. A tall Valorian commander entered, followed by 2 healers. The commander's silver armor was pristine and decorated with sharp lines indicating high rank. "Sari Arathun," he said, voice deep. "Your recovery is expected to take 1 more day. After that, you and the human will be summoned to the council." Evan stiffened. "The council? Why?" The commander turned his sharp gaze toward him. "To finalize the bond you both declared." Sari felt her heart jump. Evan looked startled but not frightened. The commander continued, "If either of you rejects it, it will be dissolved. If not," he paused, "then you will both be bound according to the ancient law." The healers stepped forward and began checking Sari's vitals. The commander left the room, and the door hissed shut. Evan sat quietly for a moment. Sari watched him, uncertain. "Does this trouble you?" He slowly shook his head. "No. I just want to make sure it's what you want." Sari stared at her hands resting on the medical sheets. "I never imagined a bond with anyone," she said softly. Valorian warriors rarely receive such words. We are seen as weapons, not individuals. You're not a weapon, Evan said, his voice firm. You're... Sari. Sari. Something inside her shifted at how he said her name, like she was more than duty, more than armor. You spoke desire, she whispered. You said you wanted me. And I meant it, he replied. Her breath caught. Even now? Even more now. Sari's eyes glowed with a softness she rarely showed. Then, I wish to accept the bond fully. Evan smiled gently. Me too. They didn't say anything more after that. They didn't need to. The healers eventually left, and Sari drifted back into sleep, this time without fear. The next day, Sari was strong enough to stand. She wore traditional Valorian ceremonial armor, lighter than her battle gear. Colored in deep blue with silver lines that pulsed like stars, Evan stood beside her, wearing clean clothes and trying not to look nervous. He had been given a simple but respectful human uniform for the ceremony, white with a blue sash across the chest. You look different, he said hesitantly. Sari turned her head. Her visor opened to reveal her face. Is it acceptable? More than acceptable, Evan said. You look amazing. Her cheeks warmed slightly. Valorian did not blush in the human sense, but faint silver light pulsed gently along the markings on her face. Together, they walked toward the council hall. The hall was huge, built of dark stone and illuminated by glowing symbols running across the walls. Valorian elders stood in a half-circle, their armor old and carved with history. At the center stood an altar-like platform with 2 steps. Sari and Evan approached. The head elder raised his hand. You stand before us for judgment of the bond, spoken and accepted. Sari bowed. Evan tried to bow in the same way, but his version was uneven. Some elders watched him with curiosity, others with confusion. The head elder continued. Human Evan Hart, do you speak your desire freely and without misunderstanding? Evan swallowed, then stepped forward. I do. I choose her, Sari. A quiet ripple passed through the hall. The elder turned to Sari. Sari Arathun, do you accept the human's bond willingly? Sari stood tall and calm. I do. Then step forward. They did. The elder extended a small, glowing stone, a bond crystal. Place your hands together over the crystal. Evan hesitated for a second, then gently took Sari's hand. Hers was larger, cooler, but strong and careful. As their hands touched the crystal, it glowed bright blue. Sari looked at him, her voice soft. This is the moment. He nodded. I'm ready. The crystal pulsed once, sending a warm wave through both of them. The light traveled along Sari's markings, then to Evan's hand, where it left a faint silver imprint across his palm. Evan stared in awe. The elder spoke loudly. The bond is sealed. By your choice, and by ancient law, your lives are now joined. Where one goes, the other may follow. Where one stands, the other may stand. Quote. Sari felt something warm settle in her chest, a calm she had never felt before. Evan felt it too, like a gentle connection reaching between them, soft but strong. The ceremony ended, and the elders stepped back, giving them space. Evan exhaled. So, we're bonded. Sari nodded. Yes. Does it feel strange? A little, she admitted. But not unpleasant. They walked out of the hall together. The outpost was rebuilding after the attack. Workers moved supplies. Soldiers patrolled the area. When the Valorian troops saw Sari and Evan walking side by side, some of them paused, surprised. Others nodded respectfully. People are staring, Evan whispered. They will grow used to it. Sari replied calmly. They stopped at the balcony overlooking the desert. Golden sand stretched into the horizon, shining under the twin suns. A soft wind brushed past them. Evan leaned on the railing. So, what now? Sari stood beside him. Valorian bonds are partnerships, she said. We protect each other. We grow together. We choose paths side by side. Evan smiled. I like that. "Do you regret choosing me?" she asked quietly. He looked at her fully, without hesitation. "Not even a little." Sari blinked slowly. "Good." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the desert glow. For the first time, Siri felt peaceful without armor. And for the first time, Evan felt stronger than he ever had because she stood with him. Evan turned to her. "You know, when I joked that I wanted you, I never expected all this." Sari tilted her head. "Do you wish to take the words back?" He stepped closer. "No. I wish I had said them seriously the first time." Sari's eyes softened. "Evan Hart, humans say many strange things. But this one, I am glad you said." He took her hand gently. She accepted it without hesitation. In the burning light of the twin suns, a human and a Valorian warrior stood together not by mistake, not by misunderstanding, but by a bond they both chose. And the future stretching before them was brighter than either imagined.